Hello YouTube, this is Blake from TechnoBuzz.com and the TechnoBuzz YouTube, and today I'm bringing you the video review of the HTC One V for Bell Mobility. Alright, so let's get started by taking a look at the hardware on the HTC One V. As you can see, it's a really nice phone from an aesthetic standpoint, even though it is a smartphone Lite or a lower price smartphone. On the front though, you do have a 3.7-inch WVGA Super LCD 2 screen, 480 by 800. I'll get into that a little bit more in a little bit. You have a back, home, and a recent application button. Missing is the menu button and the search button, traditionally found on older Android devices, but this one does run Android 4.0. Running down the specs, it has a 1 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S3 processor, running Android 4.0 with HTC Sense 4, like I just said. 4 GB of built-in storage, 512 MB of RAM, as well as a micro SD card slot for up to 32 GB of storage. 1500 mAh battery is on board, but is not user replaceable. A little bit disappointed about that, but what are you going to do? Besides that, it has HSPA+, Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN, as well as Bluetooth is on board. It weighs 4.1 ounces or 115 grams. On the back here you'll find a 5 megapixel camera that does do 720p video. Doing a tour of the device, screen on the front, as you can see. On the left hand side there's absolutely nothing, pardon me for getting out of frame there, nothing on the left hand side except for the micro SD charging port. Let's see if we ever get into focus here. You can see that, there you go. And on the right hand side, nothing on the bottom. You do have the volume rocker there. On the top you have your 3.5mm headset jack and your sleep-wake button. Round back here is the little door on the back of the chin. As you can see, this uses that same kind of forward chin design that you can find on many HTC phones, originally pioneered by the HTC Legend, and that houses your micro SD card and your SIM card. Alright, so that's enough about the hardware itself. Now let's get talking a little bit about the software performance of the phone. Alright, so let's talk about the software. Like I said, this phone runs Android 4.0, and it's great to see a phone in the smartphone Lite, or like I said, lower end smartphone category shipping with one of the newer builds of Android. Not the newest build, but at least newer than Froyo or Gingerbread, which I have seen come out on some more recent devices still, even though they are quite old. Now, talking about software, HTC Sense UI is very nice. It brings in quite a few customizations, pardon me. This is a slight redesign on the home screen here. But where you can tell is in just more subtle ways. So if I bring up the settings application here, you can see where HTC has added in a little bit more style, per se, to the interface. You know, extra graphics and a few extra menu options as well. They just do a little bit here and there to make the whole operating system a little bit nicer, I'd say. Beyond that, though, this phone feels like pretty much any other Android phone. When you open up the app launcher, you do slide pages back and forth. But you know, it's not something that's so radically different. When you pick it up, you don't know what you're doing. Just like most Android phones, you can figure it out. Software-wise, I am a bit disappointed though. One thing that I don't like to see on phones, and I don't think this is just a personal preference, but I know it is a personal preference, is the amount of junk that was put on it. I don't imagine this is necessarily HTC's fault, but the amount of bloatware that you get on your phone, including Bell widgets and you know, trying to sell you games and stuff, trials of games that you can't get rid of. That's the worst part, is a lot of these applications that come pre-installed you can't get rid of. I don't really like that. Now others are useful, like Dropbox coming pre-installed is fine. you know, mobile TV and self-serve. I understand why those ones are there. That makes sense. But, you know, other stuff, let us download it ourselves. We don't need to be pushed with this junk. And like I said, I do realize it's not necessarily HTC's fault. It's just annoying. Like, you have a game of Uno on there, and you're like, oh yeah, I can play Uno. And then you get through one round, and it's like, trial's over. Yeah, just a tad bit annoying. Like I said, not a big fan of that. Going back to software, overall the phone does run quite smoothly when it comes to performance. No real areas that it suffers in. You will notice the occasional slowdown, but no, nothing too major. Although I will say this, it feels the way it runs, even though it's smooth, it feels more like it has an 800 megahertz processor versus a gigahertz. Having had phones with a gigahertz single core processor, older generation than the one that's in this phone, I found them to be a little bit smoother. Now, it could just be the operating system or the customizations, but like I said, I feel that this phone runs at about an 800 megahertz level, or at least what it feels like to me is something like any other phone that would run with an 800 megahertz processor. It's not bad by any means, it's just not great either. One thing though I do have to tell you about, and this is a major software glitch that I found with this phone, and I'm actually quite disappointed in. There is a problem with the sound. Now, occasionally you'll find that the phone itself here, let's just say you're listening to the built-in, you know, music app, and you're listening to music. It sounds fine and wonderful with Beats Audio, and I'll talk about that in a little bit on board, but when you're trying to change the volume, it doesn't always take. For example, let's just say I'm playing a song and I push the volume down button here. You get the little thing like you see for the ringer here. But the problem is even though that bar's going down, the audio level in your headphones don't go down. I'll give you a good example of this. I was using the phone hooked up to my car stereo via an auxiliary jack, and I had it set at full so it would play louder through my stereo and then adjust the volume there. That was fine and wonderful, but when I got out of my car and just, you know, went to go put in my headphones and I played the music and I turned the volume down, it was still blaring at full blast and it wouldn't change. This is a software glitch I've been experiencing since I've started using this phone, and I have been using it as my daily driver for almost a month now, so I have a good idea of, you know, everything on it. That is one of the biggest annoyances I have found. Really, I mean, is it going to be a decision, you know, deal breaker? For most people, no. But for some people who use it regularly to switch between extremely high volume and lower volume music listening experiences, like, you know, going in and out of your car, it will be an annoyance. And the fact that there was an update while I had this phone that was supposed to contain numerous major improvements to the operating system, including stability and bug fixes, that was not one of them. That just hurt a little bit because I did test it afterwards. But overall, like I said, this phone performs really well. Alright, next let's talk a little bit about call quality.
Please hang up and try again.
So call quality I found on this phone is actually pretty good. The person on the other end and me myself can hear quite well, and I haven't had any problems with that whatsoever. Reception wise, this phone is a little bit lower than average. Usually when I get, let's just say, 4 bars on my other phone, this one has about 3. It just could be the area or particular placement, but I always find this phone to be either the same signal as most of my other phones or other family members' phones, or 1 bar less. I really can't fault it for that, because speeds wise it has been alright. I have noticed though that there are extreme fluctuations in speeds on the network or with the phone. Sometimes where you get, let's just say, 10 megabits per second download on one speed test, and then you do a speed test again immediately afterwards, and you're getting like 0.4. This is very common on this phone, but I don't really find that fluctuation as much on other phones. But overall, the speeds for downloading, browsing the web, checking emails have all been actually wonderful. For a lower end phone, this one downloads super quickly, and I'm really happy with its performance from a downloads perspective. Alright, next up, let's talk a little bit about its performance when it comes to apps and gaming, as well as the camera. Alright, so apps and gaming. In this category here, I'm just going to launch Angry Birds here as an example. And I find the best way to show you how the phone performs with games is by actually loading one up and trying to play it. Now, the experience on Angry Birds, which is one of the most common games being played on Android phones, is fairly reasonable. Now, I have reset my stats here just to show a more common level, but as you can see, the game does swipe back and forth, left and right, quite smoothly. When I go to pull a bird here, as you can see, once again, the flying animation is quite smooth with very little lag or jitter. Although you do experience some in some cases, and that's mainly when you have a background process that starts running. But overall, when it comes to playing most games that I've tested, including games like Nova HD and other high-quality games, it has been quite good, and I've been pleasantly surprised with the performance of this phone. You know, just overall, it's been doing pretty good, and I literally failed everything, but yet most of them are, most of the pigs are dead. Anyways, that's besides the point. Performance for gaming and applications has been good. Let's take a look at performance in the internet browser here. Let's see, I have Google brought up here. Let's visit a test website and just see how it loads. Should have pre-programmed this in here. I'm terribly sorry, guys. Just 1 second. Alright, so let's see how it renders a mobile optimized page. So, connecting on the HSPA Plus network, because I haven't actually used home Wi-Fi really with this device a whole lot. As you can see, it does load up TechnoBuzz website very well. You know, I mean, it wasn't like LTE crazy fast, but it did the job quite well. If I tell it to render in regular view, just as an example here, once again, website rendering is quite quick, actually a little bit faster in this case, and scrolling, pinch to zoom, and everything else is very fluid and very smooth. As you can see, the text does automatically expand, and overall, the web browsing experience I've found on this phone has been amazing, and HTC's done wonders making sure that the 3.7-inch screen doesn't really affect your experience by adding optimizations into the way it zooms and different things like that. Alright, now with regards to the camera, pictures I've taken on the phone have been quite good. Nothing, like I said, nothing too crazy, but you do have that 5-megapixel camera. Does shoot pretty nice photos. I'm going to put an example shot in right here. And here are some shots in lower light with flash on. So as you can see, picture performance is about average really for a phone of this range. Low light performance isn't great, but what are you going to do? It still does the job. So next up, I'm just going to show you a little video clip I took in 720p just to show you guys a little comparison here. And this is just a quick test of the video recording capabilities of the HTC One V running at 720p. Okay, and that was the small video sample there. Now that would be our camera performance. If you have any other questions or you want to see bigger shots of those photos, I have posted them on the blog post on technobuzz.com. You'll find a link to that below in the description of this video. Now going back to the phone itself, there's one last thing I really want to talk about before I wrap this up, and that's going to be the Beats audio optimization in the phone and the sound, speakers, things like that. First of all, the speaker or speakerphone performance is quite well, or does quite well, pardon me. The speaker on the back, or the speakerphone speaker, is quite loud, and conversations are quite clear through it. When you use speakerphone, I have heard from the person on the other end, you can sound a little bit far away, but it's not as bad as I've had on other phones. One big thing you want to know, though, is this phone's headset talking performance isn't really loud. Not in the sense when you're in a quiet room, but if you're in a very loud place, even with the volume blasting, you still might have a hard time hearing the other party. When it comes to playing music back through the integrated speaker, even with the Beats audio enhancements, it's just nothing special. The volume is quite nice though, and does get quite loud, but once again you're going with your average speaker. When it comes to headphone performance, this is where this phone shines. It does have Beats Audio, or Beats by Dr. Dre, software optimization on board that really helps the quality of the audio that you get in your headphones. Now, I'm just a tad bit of an audiophile, and I do have a really good pair of headphones. I have Monster Turbine Pro Coppers, and so I could hear a big difference in the sound quality when I turn the system on and off on the phone, which you can do actively while music is playing. With Beats Audio, I just found that the entire listening experience was much more enjoyable. Sounds just popped a little bit more. The mid-range was a little bit clearer, heavier bass. It just made minor improvements everywhere that brought the entire experience together. Some people may not like the artificial sound processing brought by Beats Audio, but overall I really enjoyed it. Alright, so let's do a quick summary here. HTC One V is going to be a smartphone light. Smartphone is available for free on select contracts from a wide variety of carriers. The particular version I'm using here, though, is the Bell Mobility version. To really get down to the nitty-gritty, this phone is probably one of the best smartphone light phones, period. I've tried the Samsung Galaxy Ace. I've tried all the other lower-end, lower-priced phones, smartphones to be specific, and, they've been nice. And, software-wise, they feel almost the same. Mind you, they're running older versions of the operating system. The big thing I like to give HTC here, Android 4.0 to start. Fairly good camera. Once again, HTC's amazing build quality. They've been well known for doing that, and the fact that a entry-level smartphone is still made with soft touch metal, or at least it feels like a soft touch metal, is a real plus in my books. Screen's really crisp, really vibrant. I don't know if you can tell through the camera here, but this screen is one of the best LCD-based screens I've seen on a phone, and easily compares to an OLED screen that you can find on a Samsung counterpart or equivalent. Overall, this is a really good phone, and for its price, it's hard to be beat. There are a few software issues that a majority of users can't get by, but like I said, I would probably say that this is going to be my go-to phone in the smartphone light category. The HTC One V is an all-around good performer. Great phone for the price, and it's just been a joy to use. Anyways, guys, this has been Blake from technobuzz.com, and this has been the review of the HTC One V. As always, guys, there's going to be a little bit more information and postings, including full specs and those sample images on our website at techno-buzz.com, or you can follow the link down in the description below to get to the blog post for this particular video. If you have any questions about the phone, or you want to learn a little bit more, leave a comment below. But to get through with me a little bit easier, visit us on techno-buzz.com again, and drop us a message in the forums. I'll make sure I check the forums quite regularly and get back to any questions you might have. If you have any ideas for future how-to videos, or just want to talk with me or any of the other creators who have been or will be coming back onto the TechnoBuzz channel, by all means, drop us a line. The forums, the community forums, are there for you to do that. Anyways, guys, it's been great doing this review with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Have you visited our website at techno-buzz.com? Well, if you haven't, it's a great place to get all the latest in technology and gaming. And while you're there, make sure to visit our forum at forum.techno-buzz.com. There you can discuss gaming, technology, and even have discussions with our content creators. Have an idea for a future show? Make sure to let our creators know by visiting us in the forums at forum.techno-buzz.com.